Jaya Jaya Śrī Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Śrī Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Śrī Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Śrī Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Śrī Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Śrī Caitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Śrī Caitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pascharya Deshatani. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I welcome you to today's Śrī Caitanya Charitamrita session. Today is June 7th, 2026. We are reading from Śrī Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 10, the Lord's return to Jagannath Purī. So we read that Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami arrived in Jagannath Purī the day after Paramananda Puri arrived. And then we have been reading about the glories of Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami. Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami was Purushottamacharya in his previous ashram and was an associate of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. When Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he became like a madman. And he went and accepted sannyas. He also went to Kashi and accepted sannyas. What was the purpose of his acceptance of sannyas? It was not for the sake of the position of the ashram, not that now I have become a sannyasi. That was not the idea. Rather, he wanted to do Krishna bhajan without any other distractions, any other disturbances. And for that, he wanted to be detached from all worldly dealings so that he could focus 24 hours in Krishna bhajan. However, we see that after he accepted sannyas, he didn't get sannyas danda, he didn't wear saffron cloth, nor did he accept the title of a sannyasi. This tells us that even after accepting sannyas, he considered that position to be insignificant. He didn't care for the position of sannyas. That's the point we should grasp here. His intention was to become free from all entanglements of this world so that he could do Krishna bhajan. His interest of accepting sannyas was to do Krishna bhajan only, and that should be the purpose of accepting sannyas. So what did he do? We saw that there are various regulative principles when one accepts sannyas order. 1 second, my battery is dying. there are various regulative principles, such as this Viraja Homa, one type of yagya is done, and then so many oblations, 8 types of sacrifices, I think, are done for the ancestors, or offerings are offered to the ancestors. Shraddha, right? 8 types of shraddha are done for the ancestors, forefathers. And then Viraja Homa is done. Then one shaves off his sikha and one gives up his sacred thread. After that, he will accept a saffron cloth. Then he will accept a danda, sannyas danda, and the name, the title. So, Purushottam Acharya did the first initial steps of doing those yagyas and giving up his sikha and his sacred thread, but he did not accept saffron cloth. He did not accept sannyas danda. He didn't accept sannyas title. Why? Because he didn't want that name and that position of sannyasi, which can be an obstacle in the performance of his non-stop bhajan. That's why he didn't accept that. Actually, I'm also here thinking, this is such an important principle. We see this both in the case of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and our Srila Prabhupada. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he, of course, in a different, not with regard to sannyas, but just this idea of name, fame becoming an obstacle in bhajan. To avoid name, fame, how they take various steps so that they can do bhajan. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had written a book on astrology, Surya Siddhanta. He had written a book called Surya Siddhanta. And because of that book, he got the name Siddhanta, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Saraswati is after accepting sannyas, but Bhakti Siddhanta, that Siddhanta title he got after giving that book Surya Siddhanta. And he also was very good in studies. He would not study. In school, he was not interested. He would go to school, but when he came home, he would study his father's books, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books. He was more interested in those. However, he was the first in his class. That means he was such a good listener. What are they called? One who hears once will never forget. Shruti something. Right? You hear once and you'll never forget. What's that called? You remember? Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu is also that. Shruti Dhara. Yes, Shruti Dhara. Matlab, Shruti mane hearing. Dhara matlab holding it. You hear once and you just hold it. You won't, you won't forget it ever. So Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, of course, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, the Supreme Lord, once he hears something, he'll never forget. So he said that in the context of Keshav Kashmiri, when they were having that debate. Once he heard, at the raging speed of the wind, he was speaking glories of goddess Ganga in very, high Sanskrit language. But just hearing once, he remembered. Not only did he hear and remember, he was able to repeat and, speak those verses, but also he was able to find faults. He was able to comment on those verses. And for how long did Keshav Kashmiri speak? For 1 hour or 3 hours? He was continuously speaking 100 shlokas on the glories of goddess Ganga. And then he was appalled when he heard Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu point out in the 64th verse, third line, something like that. You said this, and he repeated the verse, and he was shocked. How do you remember? So Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu said, the way by the mercy of Goddess Saraswati, you are able to speak. In the same way, by the mercy of the Lord, I am also a Shruti-dhara. Once I hear, I don't forget it. Like that, Shruti-dhara. So anyway, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was also a Shruti-dhara. That's why whatever he heard, he would just remember. So he didn't need to come home and study again. So the point is, these are all on the side points. But he was he was number one in his school. And he wrote such a masterpiece, Siddhanta. Based on his book only, now our devotees are making our Vaishnava calendars. He was a genius. He is a genius. So, but he didn't pursue. He was getting offers, great offers, He didn't complete his studies because he was thinking, if I become successful, if I accept this, then I will receive so much honor, and that will distract me from the path of bhakti. Now, he was a young man, very young. Now wealthy people or, cultured people, they will come offering their daughter in marriage to me, and then I will have to enter into grihastha ashram. So thinking of all this, he didn't even accept. He didn't. Our Srila Prabhupada, he completed his college degree, but he didn't go to collect his actual degree. He finished his exams, but he didn't go to collect his diploma. His degree he didn't take. If you don't have your degree, then nobody values that you have actually completed. You know that you have completed, but without that degree, nobody will accept that you have actually studied. If you want to use that for something, for a job or for anything, without degree, who's going to recognize? But and in those days, imagine, when hardly a few people would study in colleges. But Srila Prabhupada didn't accept it. The point is, I'm saying how our acharyas and devotees very carefully avoid name, fame, glory, which can be obstacles on the path of bhakti. That's the thing. Of course, it doesn't mean those who are in position, then they are all not great devotees. It's not like that. Even if they do it, it is only for the sake of leading others, setting example to people. Very carefully, they accept that position, but they remain always very, very cautious. They remain on the platform of Jivara Svarūpa Hoy Krishner Nityadas. So we also have devotees who are sannyasis, and they are also great devotees and great examples. So we have on both sides. So those who are avoiding are setting an example for not becoming proud, and those who are accepting, they're also setting an example of how to act in that position, not becoming proud or not letting that position, impede your performance of bhakti. So Svarūpa Dāmodara Gosvami, even though he accepted sannyas, he didn't accept the saffron cloth. And also we heard about his glories, that he was very learned, and he was an ocean of rasa, bhakti rasa, ocean of rasa. That means he was a very advanced devotee. He was a very advanced devotee. Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami is actually Lalita Sakhi. In Ashta Sakhis, he is Lalita Sakhi, the foremost of the gopis, who would even advise Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna. That's her position. So now let's continue what happened after that. So we heard that Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami, he came to Kashi and he accepted sannyas. But the system is, before you accept sannyas, first you are given Naishtika Brahmachari initiation. And at that time, he received the name Svarūpa Dāmodara or Damodar Svarūp. And then after that, when he accepted sannyas, his guru's name was Chaitanyananda Bharti. So his guru instructed him that you should study Vedanta and you should teach Vedanta to all people in the whole world. This was the instruction given by his guru. Then what did he do? So after hearing that, his guru told him, I'll just go back a couple of lines. Chaitanyananda Guru Tara Agya Dilena Tare Vedanta Podiya Podao Samasta Lokere. You study Vedanta and you teach all people. Parama Virakta Teho Parama Pandita. Kaya Mane Ashri Ache Sri Krishna-charita. So he was a great Pandit already. Parama Virakta and Parama Pandita. He was supremely renounced and supremely learned. Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami. And he was instructed by his guru to study Vedanta and teach Vedanta. But his mind was always absorbed, sheltered in the glories of Lord Krishna. The purpose of, you do karma until you get qualification to enter into jnana. And then after you come to the highest position of jnana, then what is the next thing? You have to give up that jnana also, and then you have to take shelter of bhakti. But when you come to bhakti, when you get the perfection of bhakti, by the way, there is perfection of bhakti, but that's not the end. There's no limit, upper limit. There is perfect, more perfect, most perfect, and it goes on and on and on. There's no end to bhakti. So for the jnanis, before they get liberation, they are practicing jnana. And once they get liberation, even at the time of getting liberation also, they give up all that jnana practices and jnana they give up. Now they do exclusive bhakti so that they can go and merge into the absolute, into Brahman. That's the jnana marga. And for the devotees, sometimes you can use this jnana. When we say jnana, we are not talking about Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. Jnana means tat padartha jnana, tvam padartha jnana, and aikya jnana. Tvam padartha jnana, tat padartha jnana, and aikya jnana. Tvam padartha jnana means knowledge that I am not this body, I am soul. This is knowledge means your realization. Knowledge you and I also have now, but not theoretical knowledge. Realization that I am not this body, I am spirit soul. That's called tvam padartha jnana. And then how you get that? By practicing nishkama karma yoga, doing your duty. Again, what is your duty? Duty as prescribed by Shastra. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. So you will be recognized, you will be identified by the Guru, and then you will be trained in your duties. Now doing those duties with the consciousness of not being attached to the result. Still doing it with an attitude, with the mood of my duty. And also tolerating the pains and pleasures that come while performing your dharma, while performing your duty. And when the result comes, not accepting the result for your enjoyment, but offering it to the Lord. Karmanye vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhur mate sangostva karmani. So when you work like this, that type of work is called nishkama karma yoga. Because you're offering the result to the Lord. That is connecting you with the Lord, and it becomes yoga, karma yoga. So by nishkama karma yoga, then you become, when you perfect nishkama karma yoga, you get tvam padartha jnana. You get the realization, I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul. That's how you get that. And then after you get that, then one practices jnana sadhanas. Jnana sadhanas means, there are 20 jnana sadhanas given in Bhagavad Gita. Amanitvam, madambitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, rajavam. So different practices, practicing humility and, living in a secluded place and not being attached to family, wife, children, so on and so forth. Like this, there are 20 jnana sadhanas. So one practices those under the guidance of a tattvadarshi guru. And side by side, he will be studying Upanishads. So by practicing this, he will be increasing his mode of goodness. And by that mode of goodness, he is able to understand whatever he's studying from Upanishads about Brahman. And then he will get Tat Padartha Jnana. Tat means that. Tat Padartha Jnana means knowledge of the absolute. What is that? That the absolute truth is Brahman. That's all. The absolute truth is Brahman. So that knowledge, that realization is called Tat Padartha Jnana. And Aikya Jnana means after this, the next stage is after you get knowledge of the absolute truth, that the absolute truth is Brahman. Now you give up Jnana practices also. All those Jnana sadhanas you're doing, you don't do this. You stop that. And then now you practice only bhakti. So for you to practice bhakti, that's also one of the 20. There is one of those 20 Jnana sadhanas, one of them is bhakti. My point is, you have given up karma after Tvam Padartha Jnana. After Tat Padartha Jnana, you have given up Jnana. Finally, what are you doing? Only bhakti. Mamchayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Mamchayo avyabhicharena. Avyabhicharena means no mixing of karma, jnana and bhakti. Exclusive bhakti he will do. Then he is able to go and get brahma bhuyaya kalpate. He will go and enter into Brahman. So that is the procedure. So the point is, even for realizing Brahman, one has to give up karma, jnana, and finally, even the jnana which has been practicing throughout. It's called jnana marga because he's practicing jnana. But that jnana also he has to give up in order to go and get liberation. Is it like that for bhakti? That you have to give up bhakti after you get liberation? No. Bhakti is an eternal associate. Even after you are liberated eternally, you'll be practicing bhakti. There's no, never will you give up Shravanam, Kirtanam. This is never given up. It's not, the idea is not that now I'm chanting so that I'm liberated, then I'm free. No. Here what we are getting is we are getting that taste and we are developing that love. Same thing will continue. Whatever we are doing here now we are doing in the conditioned state, and then we will do in the liberated state with so much love. That will be completely, anyway. So if somebody already has that bhakti, does he need jnana? That's my point here. His guru, Chaitanyananda Bharati, his guru ordered Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami, you study Vedanta Sutra and you teach Vedanta Sutra to everyone. What is the position of Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami? He is already Parama Virakta and Parama Pandita. He is supremely learned. Already he knows everything. He is supremely learned and he is supremely detached. Why? Because he is such an advanced devotee. When you practice bhakti, this detachment and knowledge come as side products. Without endeavoring for them separately, they just come automatically. Detachment and knowledge. That detachment from material world and knowledge about the insignificance of the material world and of the spiritual world. You get all this knowledge by practicing bhakti, simply by practicing bhakti. And he is such a devotee that his mind, his body is always absorbed in the lotus feet of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu all the time. What is the need for him to study anything? That's the point I'm trying to make. But anyway, he got that instruction from his spiritual master. Therefore, it is said here, the spiritual master told him that you study Vedanta and teach everyone. But his position is he's a supremely renounced person and supremely learned and always absorbed in the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. And his desire was Nischinte Krishna Bhajibo Eita Karane Unmade Korilo Teho Sannyasa Grahane. What is the cause, what is the purpose of his accepting sannyas? So that I can do Krishna bhajan without any worries, without any other distractions. And in great ecstasy or madness of love, he went and accepted sannyas. Then when he accepted sannyas, that's why, because his purpose of sannyas was only to do Krishna bhajan, he did only the preliminary. He accepted the preliminary steps of accepting sannyas. That means detaching himself from this world. However, he didn't accept the saffron cloth, the name, the danda, etc. And because he didn't actually complete the process of sannyas, so he is not given the title of a sannyasi. Rather, he was still called by his brahmachari name. His name remained Svarūpa. So let's read today's verse quickly. I started late today, so I started late, but I will also try to end soon. We'll have a short class. Guru-ṭhāñi, ājñā māgi, āilā, nīlācale, rātri-dine, kṛṣṇa-prema-ānanda-vihvale. So then because he accepted Diksha from his guru, he took permission from his guru. Guru-ṭhāñi, so he went to the spiritual master, ājñā māgi. He took permission, āilā nīlācale, and he came to Nīlācala, Jagannātha Purī. Svarūpa Dāmodara went to his spiritual master and asked for his permission to go to Nīlācala. So his spiritual master gave him permission. Then he came to Jagannātha Purī. That was his, see, he became mad when Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, when Lord Gauranga accepted sannyas. And he also went and took sannyas. Obviously, he wanted to go and join Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu once again. So after accepting sannyas, he begged permission from his guru to go to Nīlācala. And he got permission. So he went. Rātri-dine kṛṣṇa-prema-ānanda-vihvale. And then day and night, he would be overwhelmed, vihvale, in the ecstasy of love of Godhead. Prema-ānanda-vihvale. He would be overwhelmed in love of Krishna. Prema-ānanda, in the bliss of love of Krishna, he would be overwhelmed day and night. That was his condition when he went to Nīlācala. After taking permission from his sannyas guru, Svarūpa Dāmodara went to Nīlācala and accepted the shelter of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Then all day and night in ecstatic love of Krishna, he enjoyed transcendental mellows in the loving service of the Lord. Pāṇḍityera avadhi vākya nāhi kāro sane nirjane rahe loka saba nāhi jane. Pāṇḍityera avadhi. Avadhi means what? Avadhi means, we think usually it's like, the time that's given to you, isn't it? So avadhi means limit, the limit. There's nothing beyond that. That's the limit. So Pāṇḍityera avadhi, the limit of learning. That means that's the charam sima jo bolte hain Hindi mein. The highest limit, the pinnacle of learning. Vākya nāhi kāro sane. That means he was the limit of learning personified. That means there was nothing that he didn't know. This was the position of Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami. So that is why I was saying that if one becomes a pure devotee, automatically he gets all learning. And here is a devotee. What kind of devotee? This is an eternal associate of Radha Krishna. All learning is already there. If you're a devotee, everything is there with you. All yogic siddhis, opulences, everything is available to the devotee. And Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami, such an exalted associate of Radha Krishna. Pāṇḍityera avadhi, he was the limit of all Pāṇḍitya. Pāṇḍitya means learning. Vākya nāhi kāro sane. So nobody had any words. If they came to debate with Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami, people wouldn't have any words to speak to him. He was such a great learned Pandit. Vākya nāhi kāro sane. He was such a great Pandit. Nobody could stand in front of him in a debate or in discussion. He knew everything. Pāṇḍityera avadhi vākya nāhi kāro sane nirjana rahi. But yet, even though he was so learned, you see, we saw Keshav Kashmiri. Keshav Kashmiri is the Digvijayi Pandit. How would he travel? He would travel on his elephants with a procession. So many people, with musical instruments and, so many people glorifying him, in front of him, behind him, like a big procession wherever he went. Like it would be like, a great emperor going on the street. And like this, he traveled all over the country. He was going to every place and challenging each kingdom he would go to, and he would challenge the best Pandits, and he would debate, and he would defeat, and then he would have them sign that our country is defeated in front of this. Our kingdom is defeated. And then he would take that letter, Digvijayi. That's why it's called Digvijayi Pandit, Digvijaya Patra. And he's going everywhere, and people were trembling that when he would come. That means it's an insult, isn't it? It's a humiliation. Oh, we have lost. So this is when you become a learned person, you get that recognition, honor, and with that comes pride. Yes. What about Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami? Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami's learning is, nobody could stand before him. He was, already we heard about his learning. And Charam Sima of Pāṇḍityera. Pāṇḍityera avadhi. He is the limit of all learning. Yet he would live nirjana rahiye. He stays in a place where nobody is there. That means he lives in such a way that nobody recognizes him. Even though he is there in Jagannātha Purī, he lives unnoticed by others. Not that here comes the great learned Pandit, not like that. Nirjana rahiye, very, very humble, unnoticed by others. He is living in Jagannātha Purī. Loka sabhi nahi jane. Nobody recognized him. His great learning, how great he is. He lived like that. Pāṇḍityera avadhi vākya nāhi kāro sane. Nirjane rahe loka sabha nahi jane. Nirjana. He lived in isolated places where nobody was there. So, if you have such tendencies, then it's not a bad thing. If you like to, if you are not, we have several acharyas like that. If you don't prefer being amongst people all the time and all that, no problem. However, we have to see, it's not just a personality thing. There was a purpose behind that. They didn't want to deal with materialistic people. They didn't want to waste their time. You have like-minded people, they come together. So they would be very happy in the association of pure devotees. Several we have like that. Srila Madhavendra Puri, he stopped going in, places where people live. He would just travel in forests where there are no human beings. Why? Because he was fed up with, nobody is interested in Krishna Katha, and they are always absorbed in their material talks and, family, wealth. I don't want to be with these people. So he would be traveling in the forests. That is Madhavendra Puri. So here we are seeing Nirjane Rohe Loka Sabha Nahi Jane. So he would live in secluded, isolated places and nobody recognized who he was. Svarūpa Dāmodara was the limit of all learned scholarship, but he did not exchange words with anyone. He didn't talk to anyone. He simply remained in a solitary place and no one could understand where he was. kṛṣṇa-rasa-tattva-vettā deha prema-rūpa sakshat Mahāprabhura dvitiya Svarūpa. His form, okay, kṛṣṇa-rasa-tattva-vettā. He's learned. When you say he's the limit of learning, not just about he knows math, science, social, English and all that, or just this material knowledge. No. What is the highest knowledge? Highest knowledge is not tvam padartha, tat padartha, aikya jnana. That jnana is, in general, when we say jnana, that's what is jnana. But bhakti jnana is also bhakti. That's why we don't call it jnana. There is knowledge in bhakti also, but that is called bhakti only. Bhakti jnana is also bhakti. So whatever you study from Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is knowledge, but this knowledge is also directly bhakti. So what is the limit of knowledge? Bhakti knowledge, kṛṣṇa-rasa-tattva. Knowing, tattva means truth. Rasa means, I told you, the taste in love of Godhead. There are different tastes. When you eat, some items, rasgulla is sweet and, something else is salty, something is sour, like that. You get different tastes, isn't it? And also some are juicy, some are hard. Different types of tastes you get when you're eating. Like that, in relationships also, in dealings also, there are different tastes. There's one taste in the relationship between two friends, sakhya rasa. And there is another taste in the relationship between the mother and child or father and child, like parental relationship. An elderly person with a young child, that's vatsalya rasa. Or between a lover and beloved. And also there are secondary rasas. Secondary rasas are like, these are 5 basic rasas. Servitude, friendship, actually shanta rasa, then servitude, friendship, then parental affection, and conjugal love. These are 5 basic relationships. But there are other tastes also, like comedy, or you have fear, horror. These are also tastes. So like this, there are different tastes in relationships. And the original is that relationship with Krishna. When you get these tastes in a relationship with Krishna, that rasa is produced, which gives great pleasure to Krishna and to the devotees who are involved in that particular relationship, So to understand these rasas, one who knows these rasas, that knowledge is the highest knowledge. So kṛṣṇa-rasa-tattva, the truth of these rasas, vettā. Vettā means knower. This person, Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami, who is living like, who's living in solitude and who's not talking to anyone, who is not recognized by anyone, and he's just, like a nobody. He's just moving around in Nīlācala. He was the knower of kṛṣṇa-rasa-tattva, the highest. And what is his body? His body, prema-rūpa. Prema-rūpa, that means his body is the form. You see, he has love for Krishna, but that love is manifest in his form. As soon as you see him, his form is nothing but personified love of Krishna. It may be hard for us to comprehend this, but his very form is love of Krishna. Just like Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani, she is personified love of Krishna. And what type of love? Love in its highest pitch. Personified. So her very form is love for Krishna. It's personified love for Krishna. And what about Lalita Sakhi and all the other Sakhis, principal Sakhis? They are Srimati Radharani only, appearing in different forms, with different flavors. Each person has a different personality and has a different flavor for the pleasure of Krishna. Srimati Radharani herself coming in different forms for the pleasure of Krishna is our, other Sakhis. So Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami is also Lalita Sakhi. So that is why his very form is love of Krishna. Prema-rūpa Sakshat Mahaprabhu. So therefore, Sakshat Mahaprabhu Dvitiya Svarūpa. So Mahaprabhu himself, if he appeared in a second form, that is Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami. Because who is Mahaprabhu? Mahaprabhu is Krishna, but Mahaprabhu is also Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani only appearing in different forms are the principal gopis. So, if you see Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami, he is Sakshat Dvitiya Svarūpa of Mahaprabhu. He is a second form of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. So when you see Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami, what will you see? His form is personified love of Krishna, and it is the second form of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Like that. kṛṣṇa-rasa-tattva-vettā dehas prema-rūpa sakshat Mahaprabhura dvitiya Svarūpa. Sri Svarūpa Dāmodara was the personification of ecstatic love, fully cognizant of the transcendental mellows. That's rasa-tattva-vettā, fully cognizant of the transcendental mellows. Personification of ecstatic love, prema-rūpa. Then, in relationship with Krishna, he directly represented Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu as his second expansion. So, I'll stop here because it's already time. I have like 10 minutes to catch up with the Mangalarti. But yeah, there's one more shloka, I think, about Srila Svarūpa Dāmodara Goswami, and then we will hear about the other devotees that came to join Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. I apologize for the short class today. I joined late. Thank you very much. Śrī Caitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Srila Prabhupada. Samaveta Gaur ki jai. Vancha Thank you.
Thank you, Mata.